Welcome back to the Simply Trade Roundup. Today's a little bit of a different episode. Me and Andy are hosting. Hi, Andy.
Good morning. Depending on where you are and listening to this, good morning or good afternoon.
Yes, great to have you here. Lalo is not here in the studio, but we got it. Don't worry. So today's episode is extra special because we're talking all about the upcoming ICPA conferences. Not just one, but two big events you won't want to miss. I mean, I'm going to be at one of them and I can't wait. First, we got a brand new ICPA conference. Well, it's an MIC partnered with ICPA conference in Mexico, which that just sounds like so much fun. And then, of course, the annual ICPA Fall Conference, which we will also talk about, which we're calling it the Trade Days, right? Taking place in Grapevine, Texas. So I've got some wonderful guests. We've got a big panel here. We have Bonnie, Lila, George, Andy, Elisabeth, Alyson, and I. I'm sorry I didn't introduce you with first last name. We really don't have time for that right now. But I'm sure everyone knows you in the industry, and we'll link everything down below so you will not miss a single person. So starting up, we have the upcoming Mexico conference. It's MIC and ICPA partnering, which sounds incredible. And Alyson and Elisabeth, I would say you guys are kind of in charge of that in this group. So Alyson, I kind of want to touch on it. So can you kind of give us a roundup on when the conference is and what made you go to Mexico? What is the ideal with going to Mexico? Because we haven't heard an ICPA or MIC conference being in Mexico.
Sure. So MIC has been actually doing this conference in Mexico for a couple years. And I had brought the idea to Elisabeth at ICPA and said, hey, it's kind of one place that you're not. And let's maybe partner with Braw Miller as well, since they have a lot of clients down there. And see if we can get a conference going. So we will be having a conference down there November 5th and 6th in Mexico City. Registration is open on the ICPA website. Anybody that wants to attend either in person or virtually should register as soon as possible. And you just basically be learning more about the trade agreements, the tariffs in between U.S. and Mexico.
And it's in Mexico City, correct?
Yes.
What hotel? Is it located in a hotel or where can people stay?
It's right in Reforma at the Sheraton Isabella.
Okay. So there's a lot of new people in trade and there's obviously very seasoned professionals. Do you advise all to go or is this a conference, that anyone can just attend?
Yeah, I would say anybody that really wants to learn more about the agreements between U.S. and Mexico. We will have some top experts, some business leaders, candid conversations, a lot of networking opportunities. It's a day and a half conference, so we plan to pack as much in as we can.
I think it's incredible because there's a lot of news around Mexico right now, the new reform coming in 2026. Andy, I'm sure you've heard all about that as well, if you want to touch on that real quick.
Well, there's a lot of changes, a lot of things going on. One of the key things that people doing business from Mexico to the U.S., obviously, or vice versa, or Mexico, rest of the world. There's a lot of things happening right now with trade agreements and obviously the U.S. tariff situation and all. One of the big things are going to be you need to come back around to the USMCA or the U.S. NAFTA 2.0, I think a lot of folks called it. Content. It's like the percentage of content, and you can get up to speed with that. Secondly is working with your vendors from their perspective, the frustrations or the positives. What do you got to do business on it and what will help each other out? There's a lot of positives with this agenda that I'm just scanning over again. MIC's been great. ICPA's got some great speakers in here, and this is going to be one of those where if you want to get up to speed, if you will, proficient on the latest situation, but also make some good context on what's going on regarding the tariff situation and the impact on your specific manufacturer, the transportation, and all of that. This would be a good conference to look at that because things sometimes are changing hourly, if not daily and weekly. And so there's a lot going on. So I would highly recommend, again, make your relationships, develop those contacts and those relationships. Secondly, hear firsthand what people are thinking the impact is, and then go in and educate yourself on what's going on.
Yeah, I like that. And then I have another question. So some people might be asking, okay, well, do I choose the Texas one or the Mexico one, or do I just go to both? What would you say, Elizabeth?
I would say it depends on your area of focus. The Mexico one really is heavily focused on all trade coming and going outside of Mexico, I would say, right, Allison? I think even the session titles alone, the speakers are there's some government speakers, I think. I think professors too, right? I mean, of course,
Yes,
there's
correct.
Brenda Cordova, she is IMEX as far as I'm concerned. So, and then if you're talking about the fall conference, you're gonna get, not just the regular, trade compliance issues that are the hot topics of the time, but towards the end of the week, the ITAR EAR aspect of it. So, in my opinion, they couldn't be more different. They're both offered virtually, reduces the cost to your company or yourself dramatically. And so, and as a matter of fact, the one in Mexico is priced so low, I can't imagine your company's not allowing you to go. I mean, it's really meant to just gain some interest and share some knowledge more than anything. I think I don't know how you pick. Put it on a spinner wheel. They're very different.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Allison, do you have anything else to share, like something special about the Mexico conference? I know you just touched on a speaker, but I know you have some incredible speakers. What is like one of your favorite things about this conference?
We do. So I've been working with Brenda Cordova from Miller, and a lot of the speakers that we do have will be new to this conference. And besides the professors and the ex government employees, and I just think it's going to be a really good mix.
Great. I'm excited. It sounds so fun, and I can't wait to hear back from when it happens. So, anyone wanting to attend, we'll put all the information down below and obviously on our LinkedIn. And you can check it out. You can still register. So, it is happening. Can you remind me of the date exactly?
November 5th and 6th.
Okay, perfect. Well, you heard it here first. So, now run to the website before pause this podcast. Run to the website, sign up, and then come back because now we're shifting gears to the ICPA Fall Conference Trade Days. I love that in Grapevine, Texas. So very Andy Shiles coded because, you have to have your cowboy hat on. Also, I have to say it is going to be Halloween. So if you want to come in your best costume, then that's also fine, right, Elizabeth? I mean, I don't know.
It's not only fine, it's encouraged, right, Bonnie? I mean, like, this is the most exciting time to hold a conference for us because we've got this cowboys and cobwebs theme going. So if you want to bring your boots and your hat, please do. But yeah, I think it's encouraged for you to dress up and just cut loose and
I'm wondering how many people are gonna do the terrified t-shirt, right? Because it's Halloween and it's
it's
cli
already in the works. What are you talking about? Yes.
we should do, like, bingo cards, like, spot the terrified t-shirt, spot the trade nerd shirt, the trade nerd pin, right? Like, just
She's
fun
writing it
Right.
stuff.
down.
Oh, great idea. Here we go.
I love that.
I love it.
Well, I wanted to kind of, Elizabeth or anyone that can answer this question. What are the differences? I know you're making some changes to the conference. You're upgrading, you're listening to people, you're doing it all to have the best conference you've ever had. You always have to step up and that's what you do. What do you think is going to be different or what do you have planned that's different?
This bingo game that Lila just that is the kind of stuff that I get excited about. Here's what's really different for us. We've had a very good ITAR EAR conference for the last 3 years, and by good I mean the content, the speakers. This was a brainchild of Lila, our very own Lila Landis and Blaine Carroll, that I'll never forget. They came to me, gosh, 4 or 5 years ago, Lila. And instead of just talking at you, which is what some of the other conferences maybe did. I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to here, Lila. So we wanted to create a different environment. And I want to let Lila, you explain that part because it really
Yeah.
was, you really helped us get off the ground and you say it much better than I do anyway. So explain that aspect, please.
Yeah, so, at the times, this was, gosh, 7 years ago now. I think maybe 6 or 7 years ago now. I came to Elizabeth because I had gone to an ITAR training. I was working in aerospace and defense at the time and very heavily ITAR focused. And the ITAR training that I went to, it gave me this huge binder of paper printouts of presentations that were all in black and white, and there's no electronic materials. And You don't get to ask questions of the speakers. You can just write down a question on a Post-it note, and maybe they'll choose your question and maybe they won't. And they would have panels, but it would just be each person talking individually and no engagement between them. And I just thought, this can be done so much better. ITAR training doesn't have to be this boring and stale. And ICPA is the one that can do it better because, ICPA really focuses on practitioner led training where these are people getting up and talking to you about their real world experiences in trade compliance, not just reading off regulations to you. And it's engaging. It's meant to be a discussion with the audience of people asking questions and getting into real world scenarios. And so then that's why I pitched, hey, let's do ITAR training and do it the ICPA way and make it fun and engaging and really relevant for people that are out there in the field instead of just having somebody, read 22 CFR to them, right? Because nobody wants to sit there and listen to that. And, thankfully, Elisabeth jumped all over it. And so then we started the ITAR conference. And then she had this amazing idea of, rather than continuing to have it as a standalone event, why don't we do a whole trade week where we have the fall conference that we traditionally have with a mix of import and export topics and then plus ITAR. And I thought that made so much sense because when I think about the role of a person in a trade compliance role in ITAR, yeah, ITAR is definitely a big part of what they do, but EAR is in play too, right? There's definitely EAR issues that come up. Every company, that is an ITAR has some EAR as well. And then customs compliance is still a thing. And I think in a lot of aerospace and defense companies, customs compliance tends to be kind of back burner and a bit neglected sometimes because all of the risk seems to be on the ITAR side. And so then it felt like this would bring so much value to those trade compliance teams who can then attend both parts of the event and get this really dynamic and complex set of training and updates.
Exactly. And I think that for us, it was about also ensuring that those ITAR, EAR folks could lump it into one travel budget. And for some reason, even though I'm willing to bet that the government contracts are very lucrative just based on Hollywood's version of it, right? These people seem to have less training budget than anyone. And it's not pencils and shirts, it's guns. So for me, I'm like, they need the training. How can we make it, to your point, Lila, it to be the ICPA way. And there is so much overlap. And the other thing that made us come to this decision was I really got tired of hearing that isn't the fall conference just a smaller version of the annual? No. I mean, let me ask you this. Are your trade habits the same today as they were 6 months ago? I mean, now that works in my favor this year because they were different in the last 6 days. I'm just saying, realistically, I don't think trade is going to go back to being boring, no matter how many buttons we print, right? Like, I just don't feel it. I don't even want it because we were in Europe just a few weeks ago, and the theme of the event in a European environment was diversity. That's the new word, and it's exciting because companies are going all over the world and trading in ways that they never were before. So that's where we come into play. That's the global reach that we are excited about. So anyway, speaking of global, there's
I'm
George
gonna leave the
Reid.
mic to Andy. I'm sure he has some questions for y'all.
Oh,
Well, as we always say with all these conferences, ICPA is one that, again, the organization is so great. You make so many different wonderful contacts. You network, and all of us have probably our careers have really, moved forward. And because of our contacts, it's a small industry as far as the import export compliance, the brokerage, and then the transportation, and it links in there, and then you have the sourcing. What would be ideal is for future is like bringing in a conference of purchasing, logistics and transportation, and your compliance all in one fell swoop. That would be a great agenda. For now, this is great because right now people are changing sources for manufacturing. They're looking at different scenarios because of the different trade negotiations going on. That said, this is a way to get in one room the ability to listen firsthand what people are thinking about, the roundtable discussion, even like what we've got here. Here's another thing. We have a lot of folks that come down and attend from Canada. Canada is another scenario where we had a Canadian conference. Well, there's been a lot. And I think, Elisabeth, you hit the nail on the head. Have your trade practices changed in the last 6 months? Yes, there's a lot of different variables that have come into play. So with that, everybody's trying to do what they can as far as even budgeting. Budgets have been blown out of the water, and now that dust is settling back down and getting an idea on a few things. But with that, I got to say this is that with the discussions, there's been some really intense feelings, stress, I don't know, between our Canadian partners and us. And I would like, George, I don't know, from the Great White North up there, as far as us attending, and getting this conference, what's your perspective from the Canadian side of the table?
So, I mean, in terms of DFW, I got to echo what you said.
Yeah.
Like, I've met so many important contacts in my life, including Bonnie. It was the
Mhm.
first time I really got to know Bonnie was at DFW, but there's a whole host of other people that I have met and got to know and relied on as I've sort of progressed during my career. So it's just such a fantastic conference. And in a way, it's better than the annual conference because it's big, but it's not, huge. It's not, the state fair, if you will. It's something closer down. So as a Canadian coming down, ICPA has always been great about bringing in Canadian speakers, recognizing that a lot of folks in the US are either non-resident importers or they're managing a Canadian affiliate on their importing. And as we always like to say, mistake number one, Canada, separate country, separate rules, got to be careful. So you're going to get great information with the tariffs in particular. There's going to be a speaker there this time, for example, to talk about valuation because, tariffs come in and one of the first questions you always get is, okay, what can I do with my values to lower this ad valorem tax? I'm going to be talking about CARM.
Oh,
Everybody needs to know
bless
about
your
CARM.
heart.
If you don't know about what CARM is, what I have to tell you is it went live, new platform like ACE in the United States. ICPA brought the world's first webinar about CARM literally the day after it went live. And we'll be convening again in DFW to talk about all the things we blank about CARM. That's my working alternative title. So if you look at the agenda, just keep that in mind. But, for US folks trying to figure out what's going on up in Canada because it's on their desk, and also for Canadian folks who are trying to understand, they're acting as importers into the US, struggling to keep up with the changes, this is the one-stop shop. This is what you need to go to. You will walk away not only with the presentations, but the context to make sure that you can handle, talk about changes in the last 6 months. What about the next 4 weeks or 4 months?
Well,
Yeah.
I was yeah, and with that, here's the other thing is that as we're looking back and forth when we're talking about this is that, getting, if you will, again, up to speed of the current. And folks, if you are doing business to or from Canada, what George just mentioned on CARM, I'm telling you, the way that has been rolled out, it's some of the folks involved in that would screw up a 2-car parade with a 1-block route. It is one of those things that is the trade has just been going crazy. Hopefully, and by hook or crook or whatever, I don't know. Things are finally getting hammered out, as you just mentioned, but it's like you need to know the latest. Saying that, let me also ask Bonnie, is from your perspective of what you've been seeing, obviously you have played a key role in several different companies. You have your own business now. And what's the latest hubbub that you're seeing that where the fall conference may be a benefit for folks that attend?
There's so much changing all the time. The latest hubbub that I tell you today may change before the conference. But, piggybacking on what George was just talking about, right before this call, I just finished writing basically a step-by-step guide on how to get an import permit into Canada for your steel goods so that they're not subject to tariff rate quotas. So, there's that going on in Canada. There's we just found out last week about new tariffs being imposed on upholstered furniture into the US, as well as other wooden goods like cabinets and vanities and that sort of thing, along with pharmaceuticals. There's just new things happening literally weekly, if not more often than that. And of course, the biggest thing in my mind that's going on is the Supreme Court case that's about to be heard on November 5th about There's the dog in the background you can see. We're going to hear a Supreme Court case on November 5th about whether President Trump's tariffs that he enacted under the IEPA framework were able to be enacted that way, to put it very simply. So that'll be really, really interesting to hear those arguments and to see what the Supreme Court decides on that. And frankly, could mean really, really big money back for importers into the US or not. We'll have to wait and see.
I think
Yeah,
that's a really
I
great
think
point, Bonnie, about what you can get out of networking at the conference, right? Because then what
Oh,
are you
100%.
doing to try to preserve your ability to get refunds if the
Yep.
Supreme Court does uphold the CIT decision, right? There's not a lot of great guidance out there as far as from customs about what that may look like, right? And there's plenty of good reason for them not to issue any formal guidance on that right at this time. And so
Of
then
course.
this is where talk to other trade compliance professionals by networking either in person or virtually and finding out from them, what are you doing? What kind of conversations are you having with your broker? Are you suspending liquidation? Are you preparing reports right now? How are you talking to your leadership about the potential for refunds and making sure that you're kind of managing expectations that this isn't going to be some kind of like instant flow of cash that happens the day after a Supreme Court ruling? And so that's where
Exactly.
I think the networking comes into play and is such a huge part of any ICPA event is the ability to just talk to other trade compliance professionals about what they're doing. And we do have two virtual
100%.
networking events. So of course, if you're going to be there in person, then you talk to people in person at breakfast, at lunch, in between sessions, after sessions. But then we also have two virtual events. We have a pre-conference event that we're going to be doing the week before the conference that I'll be hosting along with Benita Lee, and we'll be talking about how to get the most out of your ICPA conference experience. And you'll have an opportunity to do virtual networking. And then we'll have a post-conference event where you can digest what you've learned from the conference and do some additional networking. So whether you're there in person or virtually, there's opportunities for you to connect with others. And it's one of the best ways to get a lot of value.
Hey, Lila, you
100%.
you hit on something that, again, folks, you need to be listening for this, is how are you communicating with upper management? Are you preparing reports or not? What types of reports? What are the things? You've got to be careful. And most compliance folks, they're in there and they will draft up a dissertation. You can't do that. You've got to be able to keep it simple, translate the complexity into the simplistic. It doesn't mean that they're ignorant. It just means they that's not their ballywag. You need to figure out what is it that you need from them? What is it they need to know? What action and decisions do they need to make? So there are some things in there that you can hear firsthand from other people. What are they doing to communicate up the chain? I will also say one of the sessions, Cindy Allen is going to be speaking on. And she's got it titled Briefing the Organization. All right. Briefing is the communication, how to sparkle in the boardroom. I love how Cindy does that.
Well, she's the Taylor Swift of trade. What do you expect?
Yeah. Well, I love Cindy.
What are you
She's so
expecting?
good.
And by the
And I
way,
love,
Taylor
hey,
Swift is releasing her album today, okay?
because of Swifty.
We have to be aware. I have a lot of
Oh,
things going on this week,
yeah,
Taylor
yeah.
Swift related.
You pre-ordered, right? You pre-ordered
I did everything in the
all
book.
the versions because
This is so irrelevant to these people. But you know what? She is. If you know who Taylor Swift is, and then we talk about Cindy Allen, I want you to know Cindy Allen is the Taylor Swift of trade. If you
there
see
we
her
go.
session, you attend. Would you not go to a Taylor Swift concert? I don't think so. You would.
And
You'd
it's
have,
included in your price. Like you don't even have
yeah,
to pay extra to see Cindy Allen. So
exactly.
what a bargain.
And that brings me to a good point. So anyone can go to these conferences.
And front row seats.
There you go.
Front
You
row
know,
seats. Just show up early. Yeah,
and
it's great.
there's a great point here because there's me listening to Taylor Swift and there's, people that are like 40 years older than me listening to Taylor Swift, which is incredible. And I think the same with the conference. Here we are, because if you're just barely starting out, you can go to this conference and you should tell your boss, hey, I want to attend this conference because I need to learn these things. and I want to be the best so our company can thrive. But if you're a seasoned professional, you want to be like, wait, I need to stay up to date. Like, I can't be, I need to stay with the times. AI is happening. You have a lot of sessions on AI. ICPA is really moving forward with the trends. And whenever you're going to the conference, you're going to get the latest updates. And that's kind of the beauty of it. And then the networking aspects is just incredible to really figure out like what you can do to be your best in this industry, because it's tough out there. And so I kind of want to end on this note, because there's such incredible things and I don't want to make it longer. And we're at 27 seconds. My 27th is my favorite number. And the 27th is also when the conference is starting, right? I say it's the 27th, correct? Not the 26th, the 27th?
Well, yeah, the
26th.
6. Go ahead. Go, Bonnie, go.
Thank
Well, I
you.
was going to say the 26th is the opening reception. You should check in that day. You should, go around and meet all of the wonderful sponsors at all of the booths. There are some games associated with that too. A new game coming out this time, so we won't spoil any fun on that, but definitely walk around and visit all of the sponsors. But you also have the opening reception that night, right, Elisabeth? And is that when we're doing the calf roping?
Yes, that is like, you don't want to miss the opening reception
Can't
for the
miss that.
annual or the fall, because it's always exciting. Not only that, we're going to have
Line
again.
dancing.
Yes, and we'll have line dancing. We have DJ Cam, which everybody loves, first of all.
Oh,
And then
fantastic.
Andy, do you remember last year we had that group that came in and was teaching dancing? Like, I can't remember what the lady's name that was there, but we
Yeah.
had them
Yes.
again. They were really good. It was fun.
They were good. I was
Well, you've
really
got some,
bad at it, but not because of them.
yeah.
It was my own doing.
But that's
Bonnie,
what
you
makes
just like you
ICPA
and I
different.
swing
It's fun.
dance and we have a great time.
We have so much fun dancing, Andy. And this, I was going to say, along the networking path, and I know you're trying to finish this up, but along the networking path, that is so important. I mean, going to the sessions and learning all the material, obviously important, but the networking, I mean, I cannot stress enough how much networking through ICPA has helped my career personally, but also it has helped me like make wonderful friends, many of whom are on this call,
Yeah.
who I know I could pick up the phone and call for professional advice or frankly for personal advice too. So it feels like a family, right? And so I think that is really important. And one thing I try to do is every meal that we have at ICPA, whether it's breakfast or lunch, I sit at a table of people I don't know. Right? Purposely. I don't sit with my friends. I go sit with people I don't know and I say, hey, who are you guys? Nice to meet you. I'm Bonnie. Let's chat. What do you do? Like, what kind of focus do you work on or whatever? And it just helps so much to meet more people and wonderful people, honestly. So I can't stress the importance of that enough.
ICPA is like a family reunion of trade nerds, and it's the best family reunion
Totally.
you'll ever go to.
And don't be
Definitely.
afraid. We're not mean girls. You can sit with us.
Oh,
Taylor Swift's song Mean is not about ICPA.
No,
It's
well,
not.
one of the things too, I'll just say is that if you are looking at attending, if you can bring anybody from your finance area, anybody from your purchasing sourcing area, or the logistics area, this would be a great conference to bring them to some of these sessions, so you can sit down after some of the sessions and talk about your own company's specific issues, because you need to approach this as far as international trade holistically and go from there. So it'd be a great thing. Hey,
And
folks, listen, go ahead, Lila.
I was just real quick, I was going to say, if you come to our pre-conference or post-conference events, we're also going to show you how to create a really short, snappy 3-slide presentation to take back to your leadership to show you got out of
Oh, cool.
ICPA. And so then that's
That is
also something
excellent.
for anybody who couldn't attend. You can go take that to your purchasing or sourcing department or your finance department and tell them about what you learned that's going to affect your organization and what you can do about it.
That's really cool.
Folks, listen, thank you so much for your time. We need to wrap this up and just listen again. CPA, there's a conference down in Mexico as we started out with in the November 5th and 6th. Then we have October 26th on a Sunday evening is when the reception is. And then the 27th and 28th would be for the
And
regular
29th.
conference. And then the
29th.
ITAR related would be the 29th, 30th, and 1st. So that whole week. All said and done, thank you for listening to this. ICPA, you need to be there. It is a great conference, worthwhile, and can't say enough about it. Please share this and share it with other people in your company that this is a conference you would, it'd be great to bring a group of people from your own company and go through these things and listen to different things. So with
Yeah.
that, everybody have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to the Simply Trade podcast.
Thank you. And don't forget, the Simply Trade podcast will be at ICPA. So we will be there. And again, that's how we're starting. Thank you so much, Andy. This is so fun because we never do a podcast together anymore. But here we are. We're signing off, and it is Monday. What day is this possibly? Because we're recording on October 2nd. Listen to Taylor Swift. Have to throw that in one more time. And we will see you all at the ICPA conference.
Yes,
So thank you
hope to
so
see you there.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you so much for attending.
Bye. See y'all later.